What's going on, guys? My name is Matthew and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to go over how to use Dehancer Film Emulation within Adobe Photoshop. Let's dive in. Alright guys, so here we are in Photoshop with the picture of my choice right here. I took this picture in the Anza Desert in California. I think it's a pretty cool looking picture. So what we'll do is we'll go up here to filter, and after you click filter, we'll go down here to Dehancer Film. And you'll now see this window pop up. Up here to the top left, you have a choice between films and presets. If I click on presets, you'll get several options down here, several different profiles with which you can choose from. But for now, we'll go over to films. Now under films, you have, several different options you can pick from, so many different profiles, and it's listed in alphabetical order. So starting up here at the top, let's look at ADOX Color Implosion 100. And you can see it gives a particular kind of look. As you go down and you click through, say this one, gives it an entirely different look, this one in black and white. This one, very different. For now, I'm going to scrub down and choose this one, the Fujifilm Instax. Now, if we go over here to the right, we have several options we can choose to adjust our settings. And if we go over here to the left, we can push and pull the profile that we chose. So if we move it to the right, you can see that it really starts to brighten the image. Move it to the left, it darkens it. I'm going to leave it over here for now. Now let's pop back over here to the right and see the different settings that we can choose. Up here at source, we can adjust our exposure compensation. If we move it to the right, it'll brighten the image. If we move it to the left, it'll darken it. The temperature comp, if moved to the right, will warm the image up. That's looking pretty nice, I think. To the left, it'll cool the image. It'll bring out those blues in the sky. I preferred it to the right. Right about there. Below that, we have the tint comp. If we move that to the right, it'll bring out the magentas and the pinks in the image. To the left, more of those green tones. I'll move it over here. You can also play with the defringe tools right over here, but I'm going to leave that blank for now. Over here, we have the film developer. If we take contrast boost and move it to the right, gives it more of that classic old style contrast look. And if we move it to the left, gives you a flatter profile. I'll leave it over here. Down here, we have the gamma correction, which will give you minimal adjustment to your image. Over here, you have color separation and color boost. And the color boost will really make those colors in your image more vibrant. So you can see as I move it to the left and right, the impact that it makes. Now let's have a look at film compression. If we take the impact and move it to the right, it's subtle, but it makes a little bit of a difference to your image. If we move the white point, you can see how the white becomes a little brighter from the sun if we move it to the left. If we play with the tonal range, it seems to have the biggest impact in terms of the brightness of the image as we move it to the right and left. And lastly, the color density, if we move that to the right, minimal impact, I would say. Same thing if we move it to the left. Now with the expand tool up here, we can adjust the black and white points of the image. So if we move the black point to the right, makes it a little darker, and then a little brighter if we move it to the left. Similar with the white point. If we move that to the right, makes it a little darker, a little brighter to the left. I'm gonna leave that around here, I think. And you can also change the color mode from normal to Luma. Now we can look at print. To start, you can change the profile, and you can choose between linear, Cineon film log, Fujifilm, and a couple of codecs over here. So I will quickly click through these just so you can see the differences that they make to your image. With the log, if you have sort of a flat profile, or if you want more of a flat look, it would serve its purpose in that sense, but I'll leave it at linear. And similar to before, you can adjust your exposure, contrast, color density, and saturation. I'll quickly play with the saturation right here. And you can see that makes it more of a black and white image, but I'm going to leave that for now. I'm going to jump down now to film grain. Film grain can really make an impact with your image. So if we take this and choose, say, 8mm ISO 500, it can really kind of roughen up the image and give it more of that vintage look, if a vintage look is what you're going for. Say instead of 8mm, we go with 65. It's still there if you look closely, but it's more subtle. So what if we went with 35, for example? That's more of that balanced look. I'll choose the 500 ISO. I kind of like how that looks. Now let's look at halation. If we choose the 8mm Super 8, it starts to work on those highlights some, giving them a warmer tint, sort of a feathered look in a sense. It's pretty cool and unique. If I jump down here to 6570, a little more subtle, but you can still see it up here in the bright areas of the image. And that's how 35mm looks. And 16. I'm going to go with the 8. I think that's a pretty cool look. Now let's have a look at bloom. Similar to before, let's go with 8. And it creates a similar effect to the halation, where it kind of gives it a heavenly look, for a lack of a better term. If I jump down to 65, it's still there, but you can see it's a little more subtle. You can kind of see the effect on the mountaintops all around. Kind of gives it a glow. I'm going to stick with 16. I kind of like how that looks. Now let's take a look at film damage. If we hit the check mark on film damage, you can see it gives the image artifacts. we can go up here and choose a few different profiles. That's how photo 8 looks, photo 16, photo 35, and then 65. I'm going to go with photo 8. It gives it enough artifacts where you can actually see it, but it doesn't do too much. I quite like how that looks. But if you prefer to customize your damage, you can see there's a whole host of options right down here. So definitely play with that. But for now, I'll just choose this. Now let's take a look at overscan. So if we go over here, hit the check mark, create sort of that film strip look. Again, similar to before, you can choose a few different settings around here. So let's go with Super 8, for example. Then Standard, Super 16, Ultra 16. And just by me clicking through these, you can kind of get a sense of the different styles that you can choose from. And depending on the look you're going for, it's a pretty cool effect. For now, I'm going to uncheck it, but definitely play with that. It's pretty cool. Lastly, let's take a look at the vignette. We can adjust a few settings over here. So if we go with the exposure and move that to the right, it starts to brighten the image, especially around the edges. And the other way around, if you move it to the left. You can also adjust the size of the feather by moving it to the right and then to the left. You can also adjust the feather itself. And if you move it to the left, it gives it more of that harsh vignette, for lack of a better term. And you can also change the aspect ratio by moving it to the right and left. I'm going to leave it right about there. And that's how you use Dehancer in Photoshop. Now, in my opinion, I really like this tool in Photoshop. And of the 3 applications with which I reviewed, I think Dehancer works best in Photoshop. I absolutely love all these film profiles that you can choose from. It's pretty cool. There's so many different options. And while you do have other options under filter in normal Photoshop, I love how many more options you can get here with Dehancer. I would absolutely 100% recommend this for Photoshop. And if you do choose to go ahead and purchase Dehancer for Photoshop, don't forget to use the promo code SOULE10, that's SOULE10, and you can get 10% off of the purchase. Now that, for all these profiles, with all these adjustments that you can make, I'd say it's a pretty good deal, and I would highly recommend you do that. And once you apply all the settings that you want to apply, you can go up here and select OK. And it will apply the settings right here in your Photoshop file. Now, obviously, throughout this tutorial, you can see that there's this Dehancer watermark. If you go ahead and purchase the full version, that watermark will go away. And it will look just like this, minus the annoying text and logo. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Click the like button if you liked what I created here, and comment below if you have any thoughts on Dehancer in Photoshop. I think it's a pretty damn good tool, and I would highly recommend you purchase it. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.